Many were shocked by Delta's move to the APC, and some say it's more about a political survival than, the interest of the people. What's really the benefit for the average Deltan in this move to the APC? What do they stand to gain?
Well, I will pardon you because Abuja is still very far away from Delta. Possibly you have not had the time to visit to know that we have even moved beyond the issue of moving into the All Progressive Congress. Now we are talking governance, and a whole lot is happening in that direction. But since you raised the issue, in order not to be accused of answering out of point, I will want to also speak to the issues you raised. We were very, very clear on the reasons why we had to leave our former party, the PDP, and then move into the APC. We're also very clear on the issues of our development trajectory and how we could advance the more agenda and indeed also take to the next level the frontiers of development, and that is what is happening. You are also in Abuja, and I know you have more information than I do as to some of the storm that have characterized our former party, and we felt that staying put might not be in our own interest, will not serve the interest of development in our state, because it's not going to benefit us to win an election, and at the end of the day, that election will be on the basis, your victory will be on the basis of a faulty nomination. And even up to just about a few days ago, you covered it, I watched it on your platform, the position of INEC vis-a-vis the who should be or serve as the national secretary of the party. And you know that position is very, very key when it comes to issues of nomination and administration of the party, because actually that's the engine room of the party. So those were some of the issues. Now, having passed the issues of movement, of course, we were not expecting that the moment you jump in, you are going to have everybody on the same page, because ab initio, you also have some blocks within the APC before we joined, and the governor have in the last couple of months now been able to manage these diverse views and diverse tendencies, to the extent that through our policy trusts as well as our developmental agenda, we are bringing everybody together, and we are very, very peaceful as a state. So there is no storm either in the teacup or anywhere. And for you to see that when we moved in what you could call one fell swoop. Everybody in the then PDP moved. And you didn't see anybody saying we are not moving. You saw all the elected officials. That meant that everybody also agreed with the governor. And I can tell you that since we moved, our people are also beginning to see that we were very, very right. Because number one, we're also now taking our development to the next level, bringing in the center to also collaborate with the effort of our governor to advance development in our state. So I can tell you, if there are issues in any other state with respect to political alignment and realignment, count Delta State out of it.
Okay. My question was actually on how it benefits the average Delta, because they believe that it's more political than in the interest of the average Delta.
The people those of us that moved are not Reverend Fathers, so it couldn't have been a religious issue.
Well,
the offices will occupy. These are political positions for the purpose of advancing governance. So if within a political party, we did not move out of a political party to go and join a social club, so if anybody says it's more political, what were we doing in the first place? We will move because there's politics, but at the base of that movement is governance and how to bring in development. And I've alluded to the fact that our movement has also helped us to advance the course of governance. Perhaps in the course of this interaction, I'll be able to take you through blow by blow what the governor is doing in the area of the road sector, in the health sector, in human capital empowerment and development, and of course in the area of housing and many other areas that have been able to add value to the life of our people. We are also advancing some form of international collaboration, believing that our state has gone beyond being a very, very critical state in this country, beyond just the shores of the country, because we also need some international players to come in and play certain role. So our people in Delta are now having a much more peaceful political atmosphere. That is a benefit. They are also having governance move much more smoothly than it ordinarily should, because at the moment we will have the ears of the center to be able to quickly attract those benefits that are accruable to states from the center, because like it is said, if you are involved in the business of rabbit hunting, it is those leaves that are very close to the rabbit hole that we need to block the rabbit hole. So it means it makes it easier for you to be able to do that.
Honorable Commissioner, for over 24 years, the Delta State was in the coffers of, PDP was in charge of the state. And even in the last election, people say election, it's like an assessment of performance of an individual or of a political party. Your states and even the PDP that you were in at that time didn't really do well in that particular election, in the presidential election. And people say that moving to the APC does not really suggest that your government is truly on ground, that if the PDP that you were in charge of then was not able to win the 2023 presidential election, how is it sure that moving into APC you have that political weight that is just more of noise, not of real being on ground? I'm
sure you know that Governor Sheriff was not involved in the presidential contest.
Yeah, that's why I said
he contested the governorship election and he won overwhelmingly, 21 out of 24 local government areas. I expected you to be able, since we are talking about our state, to stay with that. But since you decided to talk about the general election, I'm sure you also saw what happened in Lagos. You need to be able to look at the tendencies that existed at that time and the wave. The people of the South believed that there was the need for us to navigate towards the southern flank in choosing who becomes the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So when you take that away and begin to do the analysis of what happened, that cannot be representative of the thinking of the people of Delta. The people of Delta, even at that time, were still very much pleased with the government of the then administration of Okowa. But that tendency I talked about more or less pushed that satisfaction to the background. So, but when 3 weeks after there was another election, what happened? You saw what looked like a 360-degree turn to let you know that the managers of the political machinery in Delta State were still very much in charge. And those managers of the political development and affiliation in Delta State are still the ones who moved into the APC today. What does that tell you? That same machinery and that same political family, in addition to the many development trajectory and the very novel governance platform that Uborowori have brought to bear in our state, will not only make us to win, but we are now going to have more numbers, because largely a reasonable percentage of the political gladiators in Delta are now in one boat. And so it means that the struggle for votes will reduce. Of course, I am not taking away the fact that individuals are allowed politically to engage in one form of alignment or realignment ahead of general elections, depending on where their interest lies. But what we are confident about is that Delta people are always very grateful. They reward good governance. And the Uborowori is putting good governance on the table. So our strength is, first of all, on what Governor Uborowori is doing. Being fair to the 3 senatorial districts, providing opportunities for our people, ensuring that facilities are being revamped, existing infrastructure. That is our #1 strength. So that equity which is putting on the table, we will move from that to now begin to talk about certain form of political engagements, because, of course, even after you have shown element of fairness, you have been able to take governance to everybody, you still need to be able to communicate to these persons, because politically you could have individuals who may want to paint pictures that are variant with reality, albeit for the purpose of meeting certain political needs that suits their own interest. Of course, you cannot also begrudge them, because politically they are allowed to have such personal interest.